pottery making, maintaining hydration, and here's a trick for the price of admission. We've got our very own damp box, and there is a moat of water around the side. I am Jeffrey Rogue Kohut. This is my Potter's Journal for 2024, the first working video. I've been out of the studio for 2 months. I always find it so much trouble getting started, do you? But I did it. We'll maybe get these decorated today. This is what I need. Okay, the ceramic pottery potitnica Slovenian pottery nut roll baking pan. You may call it a bunt. It's not the big way I got it started. It started a lot smaller. Let's see what's going on in the studio today. The studio today, drying out, slowly covered here by the wood stove. Okay, this was last week. We got started in a small way. Okay, 100 and some little shots. These ones I will do some glaze layering on. These ones I stamped with Pittsburgh. But we will have to get these signed today. They're too small for a stamp. So, okay, in the studio today, signature on every single one. I've got to get started this way because last year I sold 300 of these things. So managing inventory, this is what I need, and if you didn't see 100 on the table, the rest are out here to be slipped. Okay, in my Potter's Journal, maybe we will try for Valentine's Day and a winter farmer's market, putting some hearts on some pots, and maybe try some slipped jewel. Pottery hydration levels. If this was a how-to video, we would be talking about hydration in the thrown pots, in the slip that we're putting on here, but this is Potter's lifestyle, and in the summer it is just too humid and the pots may never dry out. And that's why they'll blow up in the bisque, because there's just too much humidity in the air. And so I'm dipping these in the slip with my left hand and then transferring them to my right to give them some extra time to dry so that the drip in the slip doesn't drip down the side. So we could talk about a hydrometer reading on the slip, but apparently different potters prefer it at different thicknesses. And I guess depending on when you catch, if you catch these at I like a pre-leather hard state, they might absorb less. And if it's further along, they might absorb more. So hydration level of the slip. I don't remember the word hydration, but I've seen it a lot lately. I think maybe in cooking and dough. But also important is these need to dry out a bit so that I can do the sgraffito. And then I want to put some slip dots around the figures that I put on the sgraffito, so I need to catch these all at a very wet state. They need to stiffen up a bit so I can do the sgraffito, but not too much so that I can't do the slip trailing. And I hate to be showing you the same old thing I made all last year, shots and bunt pans. So we'll talk about hydration level. And the bunts, I like to do the slip trailing, which is what I will do next. Very, very wet. But then I need it to dry out so I can turn them upside down and trim the bottom. So I need the top to dry out so it will support on the wheel for trimming. But I need the bottom to stay very wet and moist. We need to get the hydration level, keep it up so that we can trim the bottom. Okay. And doing 2 at a time. Oh, okay, there was a bit of paper that I was on this one when I dipped it in that I kind of didn't see. And I may be doing another show that calls for a monster on the side of these, and the monster has the slip trailed. Okay, we can give that one a little more time to drip while I slip the other one. Okay, I like to sgraffito the monster first so I can see where to put snowflakes around the monster. So maybe Valentine's Day coming up, we will put some hearts on some of these too. Our sgraffito monster who scares the winter away, okay, from Slovenia. He's done in sgraffito, and then the dots of snow on the run are dotted on wet. And unexpectedly, I'm going to be called away from the studio for 3 days. How do I keep the moisture level up in these things? Well, I didn't know. I didn't think a piece of plastic draped over would be enough, but this thing here, this storage container has been sitting here for the longest time. I just couldn't believe it. Not only when I put it in there, but realized there was a low, shallow moat all around the side to hold moisture and not get the board soaking wet. And there it is, the humidity is already built up on the side, so these hopefully will be just right when we come back in about 3 or more days. And I've got chocolate, or I should say black and white slip. I force the air out and fill it up. I need to do this really fast on the bunts while they're still very, very wet, and then let them dry out a bit so I can trim the bottoms. Okay, so fill it up, push the air out until the slip comes, and then fill it the rest of the way. But it doesn't fill the rest of the way, so I squeeze the air out again and keep going. So it's a race against time. That wood stove you saw burning and forced air here in this office dries it out really fast. Okay, always hold my breath when we do that. And I do plain, simple, and fancy. This will be the simple. But I also do the smaller ones plainer, and as I work up in size, okay, put more into the decorating. And always see what happens if you don't hold your breath. And coming in to do the floral, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll go here, 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 and just put a little fingerprint into the black slip so I can see where to do the little florals and have them nicely spaced. And this is a medium size, so it will be relatively simple. I won't do the dots on the dots until I get to the larger sizes. And they will have a floral pattern only going in one direction. So it'll go away from to the right. And then we will move up to, turn the wheel off the side, and on this size I put 3 dots down the side. Again, as I move up, this is the 4 pound of clay. When I do the 5 pounds of clay, I put 5 dots down the side. And then on the 6s and the 9s, I not only dot the inside, but I dot the outside. And on the 9 is where we put the dot inside the dot. And the center part, I do not do the top of until after I finish everything else, because you may have seen my hand already rest up against it. So I have to start from the bottom and work up. And getting the slip on while the pot's wet and hydrated, so important now. Letting that top rim dry out so it will support the bottom when we trim it. So we need that to dry out, and we need to maintain the hydration level in the bottom. And these are a bit of a trick to get them at the right consistency now for trimming the bottom. So here's what we're going to do. I also have to unexpectedly drive somebody on a different day than I expected for a test. So we are going to dampen down the plastic rather than the pot. The pot's about right, but we want them to become somewhat consistent. I will mist maybe the bottom of the bat. How about that? We will mist the bottom of the bat. We just missed the top of the pot. The top of the pot, I need to firm up a bit. It's actually the bottom that I need to really hold in position so that I can trim it, and I need the top to stiffen up so that it'll support the weight, and we can do the bottom. Now we will tuck them in here. Tuck them in nicely. Make sure that we get the ends, and bring this big flap round, and use the board to hold it in. So if some dry air heat blowing comes on, we don't get anything under there. And just for luck, we'll put a little bit on top too. And on the theme of controlling hydration, I just got 1,000 pounds of clay shipped in. You'll notice that it's upside down. Well, have you ever noticed when you open a bag, it's drier on one side than the other? The water in the clay sinks from there to there. So when I unload the truck, I brought them in upside down, the opposite of they were in the warehouse, halfway through the year when I moved them out into the other studio. I will turn them round, and this is my favorite clay body, Standard Ceramics Hazelnut 211 Brown Clay Cone 4/6. So with the dry air I've got everything tucked in. In the summer, it would stay for weeks covered up like that. Away from the studio, can I now hold it with all this dry heat for only 3 days through the weekend? Stop back and see what's going on in the studio next week.